It sounds really good. All right, so to start off with, let's look at some of the initial measurements here. We're in standard tuning. These are the old strings. The only thing I've done up to this point is cleaned off some of the dust, really, is all I've done. I just want to kind of do this to kind of see where we're at and what work we need to do. The owner of this guitar did say that there's a little bit of tuning instability with this, and so when I hear that, I'm thinking, you know, is there maybe something wrong with the nut? These grooves are actually pretty deep. You know, maybe they need to be further sanded down a little bit. There also could be a little bit of a snag in, or maybe the slot isn't exactly straight or something like that. I mean, there could be 100 different reasons probably why, but that's the first thing I think about. You know, we have locking tuners, so that shouldn't be changing in terms of like how it's strung up, I guess, or spun into these things here. But as I take it apart, I will be checking that, making sure all of these are tight and they're not moving at all. I would be interested to know which strings are typically unstable, I guess, or not stable. So that would be something to ask. But you know, the next thing would be checking these saddles, you know, making sure they're all, you know, set up right, they're at the right height, things like that. You know, it could also be that the strings are old. You know, when we change these to these Ernie balls here, maybe it'll fix that. These are all things that I'm kind of thinking about as I'm digging into this. It looks like that one needs to be lowered a little bit. The E, A are good. The D, not. It could go down a hair. The D probably could go down a smidge too, but yeah, not much. Now it's 18 thousandths for the D and the G, 20 thousandths for the E and the A, 16 thousandths is what we're going for the B and the E, which both look good. So it's really these two center strings, but mainly the D is where I'll need to focus some attention on with the nut file. And I did want to say too is I look at these frets yeah, this is my little magnifier, and I don't know if you can see that at all, but this will allow me to see a little bit better maybe. But there's really not a ton of wear on the frets that I'm seeing. It looks like the G string is probably the most bent string from what I'm seeing based on this person's playing. But even that's not even significant. I mean, it's just maybe just slightly widening out of that strip at the top of your fret that you play on. So all that's good. You know, we don't need to mention anything about fret work, although I will be looking at the frets with this guy once we get the strings off, just to make sure that everything looks good. If there's something that comes up, I can let the person know, the owner of the guitar know, hey, this is what's going on with it, something to be aware of, blah, 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 blah. That's part of what I think the service is of getting a setup. You know, just really looking at your guitar, making sure it's set up right, everything is doing really well. Hey buddy, how you doing? Hi. Don't even smile. You're so good. You were so good. Yes, yes. Beach ball? You want your beach ball? Ready? Okay, good. Sorry. We'll be looking at the truss rod. So to do that, we need to clamp this guy down. And then I have this tool, and I have a 6, 8, and a 10 thousandths feeler gauge here. 6 thousandths is what I'm going for with the acoustic. 8 thousandths is what I would do. Or excuse me, 6 thousandths is what I would go for with the electric. 8 thousandths is what I would go for the acoustic and bass, for the relief essentially. So clamp on the first fret there. Then we'll fret the body instead of the 12th. And we're going to look at, that's 5, 6. So I would say there's a lot more relief in this than needs to be there. So we need to straighten up the neck just a smidge. It's a little bit too U'd. It's bent. And the truss rod will straighten that out, no problem. One other thing that I wanted to look at too was string height. You know, string height and the truss rod relief measurements are not necessarily related much, but they can be. So before I lower any of the saddles, I'm going to leave that be. We're going to measure the string height here. And I would say it's in between 80 and 90 thousandths, maybe closer to 90. Yep. Yeah, I would say they're all about 90. Yep, so we just need a slight truss rod adjustment, and I bet you that's going to bring this back down to about 80. And then there may be a possibility we can lower this one just a little bit, because I did notice it was higher here too, to get it, kind of matching the fretboard radius, which we need to look at that. I need to determine what fretboard radius this is, so I can make sure that it matches here as well as here. So I did already test the electronics. I just went through, plugged it up, played it a little bit, switching through all of the switches. This is a switchable tone pot, and I do believe it's the 2nd and the 4th position. You can pull this up and it goes from series to parallel and vice versa. I couldn't really tell which was which. I'm still learning, by ear what that is. So, but everything was working. I was getting different tones. Everything was sounding really good. This is a cool instrument, how it's got the Strat pickup setup, 5 selector switch and everything like that. It's neat. It's really, really neat. So we looked at the string height, we looked at the truss rod, the intonation. Let's check the intonation. Now we've already lost some of the tuning there. So we're at E. Maybe a tiny bit sharp. Sharp goes longer, so away from the neck. So we would need to push the saddle this way a smidge. Well, now it's measuring sharp. front so it's a little bit flat. You know what? I bet these strings are causing some of the tuning instability. The individual who owns this guitar has owned it for about a year. I don't know if these are the original strings or not. If they are, it would make sense that would explain it. So I think maybe we're better off to just go ahead and remove the strings, put the new strings on, and then we can intonate it rather than trying to get the initial measurements. We got the string height. I did a little bit of general cleaning and I'm working off my list here. Strings we're going to do here in just a moment. I'm going to polish the frets. I mean, they don't really need much, but I want to give them a little bit of a cleanup just to kind of get them looking really nice and playing really nice. And then I have oiled the fretboard, but this is a polished, you know, a finished maple neck. So other than wiping it down, I really don't know that there's much we can do to recondition the wood. It's just kind of getting the oils off and, you know, having a clean surface. So we will do that. I think that's it for the moment in terms of all my talking, and we can start taking it apart. I thought about getting some locking tuners for my guitars just for the ease of, you know, everything, but I just never have made the jump. I mean, some people even say to put the locking tuners on an acoustic. I mean, I'm not totally opposed to that, but it's kind of different than what I know. But anyway. So these locking pieces were a little bit loose. The E was. I don't know if that's just kind of a random find or yeah, the rest of these seem pretty tight. I mean, that is pretty nice, don't get me wrong. All right, since those have the ends on them, I'm going to clip those. Hey, Bubba, you're so good. You're so good. Not used to him hanging out with me. Normally, he's hanging out with my wife, mainly. She's not here right now. Alright. I don't want to be scratching up this super nice guitar. And then I have a box with a bunch of strings in it, where I recycle everything. Even sometimes I'll use these super thin E wires to do soldering to wire up a switch. I think I have an example of that here on the channel. And then these ends here, these balls, are actually can be useful too. So I'm going to start separating those and keeping some stock, especially for like the Martin with the Saddle Doctor, where I want to move the twisted end here basically off of the saddle on the acoustic. So, you know, putting a ball on the end of this will extend it out some. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things, you never throw away anything. I guess I'm kind of one of those people to some degree. Try and save and reuse and reduce and, you know, all of those things. Let's check these frets. Oh. You're good, man. You're good. Good dog. You're so good. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So not exactly flat there. Let's see if we can adjust that. He's a good dog. Yes, you are. What is it? Allen wrenches? Yeah? Yeah? You're good. He's a good dog. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. It wasn't even very tight at all. So. There we go, right there. Let's put a flat neck. So I'd say this one is slightly high. A little bit high on the sixth. A little high on that one. Okay, I see. So it looks like there is some finish left on these frets a little bit. If you look closely, it almost has like a gold hue to it. I think that's actually finish that's still on the frets, and I'm able to pick off with my fingernail. So I don't know, we'll have to see. Yeah, so I don't want to be flaking off any of the finish on the fretboards. I want to be really careful here. I might need to actually go along with an X-Acto and kind of like trim that a little bit. I feel like that would totally lift up the finish. Okay. But if we can get that addressed, this will play instantly a lot better. Because it's kind of like the my Tele, where it had the finish on the frets, and that might actually be giving us some of the readings on, you know, whether or not they're actually flat. I mean, it looks like they're all kind of rounded off here at the very top, so let's just keep going here. But this one was high. That one's high. Let's see. Yeah, it's high where there is no finish. So over here where there is finish, it's about the same. So maybe we are answering our own questions here. Looks like the 12th is a little bit high right here, 13th. Whichever one that is. Okay, I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, you could definitely level it and make it perfect if you wanted to. But if we're not having any buzzing, anything like that, I don't necessarily see that it's worth paying to have that done. Unless you're just a perfectionist, you know, sure, and have the money. Well, there it is. That got it. That's definitely flat. So that's kind of a known. Let's see here. All right, so I think we're kind of onto the point where we want to clean this